Monday, March 29th, around 2:30 a.m., I woke up in pain. Could not get comfortable all night. I had gone to the restroom, and when I stood up, I noticed water trickling down my legs. I was so scared. I noticed a lot of blood. So I woke Corey up. From the second we got in the car, we just prayed. We prayed like we have never prayed before, praying for a miracle. By the time we got to the hospital, the nurses and doctors rushed us up to a room and immediately started checking on me and the baby. It had appeared that my placenta had separated from the womb, and at this point I was 22 weeks. So when the doctor came in, he seemed very concerned. He had said to us that at 23 or 24 weeks, they would be able to resuscitate, but just a week sooner, they couldn't do anything. I was gonna have to deliver and say goodbye to her at that same moment. I couldn't accept this. I just felt so broken. At this point, I had asked if my parents could come up. I really didn't know what the answer was gonna be with the rules, but without hesitation, they said they would go grab them. When my parents walked in the room, we sat in sorrow together. We held hands and we prayed together, and he just kept praying for that God is a God of miracles and he can make things happen. He can move mountains. My family was so positive, and being around this was amazing. After we prayed, Corey called his mom and told her what was going on. She instantly just said, nope. She told us a story about how his cousin was born at 22 weeks, and she's still here. She's 15 years old. It's possible. She gave us hope. So we shared that with the doctor, and he didn't really respond at first. He didn't really tell us much more. We just still continued to think that I was going to have to deliver this baby and that there was no chance of her surviving. So about 2 hours had gone by. The doctor had come into the room, and he told us that he had been talking to the NICU team at Columbia and St. Louis and just in different areas, trying to find a way to give our baby girl a fighting chance. So he said we would have to do an ultrasound. We would have to see if she was above 500 grams, and if she was, they would resuscitate. They would try to revive her when she was born. Hearing that brought so much joy. They were giving her a fighting chance. He explained to us that there could be possible long-term complications, and I said yes. At least I knew that we were doing the best we could as parents. Shortly after they brought the nurse in, she did an ultrasound, and it came back 510 grams. Instantly, the energy in the room changed. It was like a flip of a switch. We went from sad and just hurt and broken to feeling joy and peace, and we felt hope. It was absolutely amazing. Shortly after, the OB came in, and she kind of just explained to me what this birth was going to look like. She did tell me that I would have to have a C-section, so this means that the rest of my pregnancies from here on out, I will have to have a C-section. I can't give natural birth. That didn't matter to me. I said, okay, let's do this. We got on a call with the NICU team in Columbia, and we had 3 or 4 nurses, a couple doctors in the room with us. They said that after she was born, they would bring her back to Columbia, where they would continue to just focus on her and pay attention to what she was needing. And once we ended the call, One of the doctors actually initiated prayer. So we all joined in a circle, holding hands while they prayed over our baby girl. We had seen miracles happen just there. You see doctors and nurses coming together and reaching out to God and putting this baby girl in his hands. We just watched God work. The next step was they got the NICU team there. And at this point, both my sisters were in the room with us. So there's like 6 of us in this hospital room, and it's just amazing that they allowed this to happen. They ended up just staying in the room while they wheeled me into surgery. I remember how scary it was going into this bright room with over 20 nurses and doctors surrounding me, but then again, I knew that our baby girl was gonna have the best team there to care for her once she was born. They gave me the anesthesia, which had made me pretty sick, so that was very uncomfortable. And I just remember my body just feeling numb. I couldn't feel anything other than like pressure of them trying to move her out. The second she was born, and that moment whenever they asked Corey if he was ready to meet our daughter, this meant she was stable, she was fighting. He got to meet her. Once they stitched me up, they wheeled me over to her. I have never felt a love like this. Just seeing our baby girl, she was a perfect mixture of Zachary and I. Oh my gosh, she was beautiful. And I had put my pinky in her hand. Her tiny little hands grasped mine. Oh, I just loved her so much. I knew that we had a long road ahead of us, but seeing her fight and just knowing that God gave her that breath in her lungs, he continued to just fight for her, and you could see it, you could feel it. I felt God through this experience like I have never felt him before. So afterwards, they had wheeled me back to the room, and I see our pastor and his wife. We had praise and worship music just filling the room. I saw smiles on everyone's face. Everybody was praising God, and there was so much joy, so much joy. And then they wheeled her by. They weren't able to bring her in the room because they needed to get her back to Columbia. So my family got to meet her and see her. And she changed us in so many ways. The hardest part was knowing that she was in Columbia and that I had to stay at the hospital, and I couldn't go to be with her until I had recovered, which they had said I needed to be there for at least 24 hours. So that evening around 8, I decided to call and check up on her. This wasn't good news to hear. They had told us that she wasn't doing as well as she was that afternoon. There was only so much that they would be able to do. So I remember when we got off the phone with the nurse, and we had been on a Zoom call with Zakore's family. We prayed over her and praised him. We gave him the glory. We put this precious 1.5 pound baby girl in his hands 100%. I remember 5 minutes after them giving me that update, they called me back and they said she was doing better. She was fighting, her vitals were back up, and she was doing better. And that right there was God. Some people may say I'm crazy for saying that this was all God, but I know it and I believe it, and that's what matters. And after this, we had decided I needed to get some rest because it had been a long day. I had not slept. So around 1 a.m., I got a call, and it actually woke me up, and I just instantly, I was afraid to answer that phone. I was so afraid to answer. She let me know that they were at the max for oxygen that they could give her, and that she was having trouble breathing. And they were worried that she wasn't gonna make it over the next few hours. This hurt so bad because I couldn't be there. I had to stay there for 24 hours after my surgery. So once we got off the phone with her, we called our nurse in, and I told her we had to leave. Our nurses were very understanding and so helpful through this whole experience. They were there for us like no other. They said that the first thing they were gonna have to do is take out the catheter, and I would have to pee on my own. So they said that this could take a while, and then they would have to take some blood, take some vitals, make sure that I was doing okay. So they took out the catheter. 2 minutes later, I had gone to the bathroom. And then a few minutes after that, I had gone again. And so Zachary called the nurse back in, let her know I had gone, and I was standing up, I was moving around. I just needed to be with my daughter. So God gave me that strength to get there for her. No matter what that was gonna look like, we needed to be there. And we needed to be there sooner than 12 o'clock the next day. So they took my blood, they took my vitals, everything was good. So we ended up leaving the hospital around 2:45 a.m. We had gotten about 5 minutes out before I had realized that I had forgotten her milk that I had pumped. So we turned around. This added 10 more minutes to our drive. We arrived at the NICU at 4:05 a.m. She passed away 10 minutes earlier. At first, I felt so angry that I wasn't there. I told myself, why did I turn around for the milk? That wasn't important. We just needed to be there. But I felt God telling me that He did that for a reason. He didn't want us to be there and to have that other memory in our mind of her passing away. He wanted us to have that fresh memory of her being born. And I'm so thankful for that. I look back and I know that He planned it perfectly because we were still able to hold her in our arms and say goodbye to her as she was still warm. And she looked so peaceful. So we worshiped with her, we prayed over her, and we told her we would see her again. And we will. Although this is not the outcome we were hoping for, we have peace because God's will was done, and we know He is going to bless us. Our baby girl fulfilled her purpose in 15 hours, while most people don't even find their purpose for a whole lifetime. And she doesn't have to go through the struggles or the hardships of this world. She didn't have to deal with any of the sadness. And that brings joy to my heart. So while this is a hard story to hear, this is our baby girl's story. And I'm going to share it. I am going to make sure that she is remembered and she's not forgotten. She will always be with us. I hope that you guys will want to follow along. But this is the way that I need to grieve. I need to share and speak about it so that it won't have power over me. Thank you guys for listening, and just appreciate it.